So they have a brother by the name of Joel Marable. Now this brother, served the country. He was in the military, and he definitely was toward the end of his life. He was diagnosed with cancer, but he was okay with it. He said he was going to live his life to the full. He made peace with that. He was going to do everything he could to enjoy his life. But unfortunately, his life was cut short. His life was cut short at the hands of the negligent Veterans Affairs Department because he was in a VA facility named Eagles Nest Community Living Center. And let me tell you what happened to this brother. So this brother was visited all the time by his daughter. His daughter, would always check on, her father. And one day she had noticed that her father had a bunch of bite marks on him. And she said, "What is this?" Well, found out it was fire ant bites. Now, this brother had lung cancer. He was bedridden at times. And the fire ants had invaded the facility. And many of the patients was bitten by fire ants. Now, this brother was bitten on his arms, his hands, his groin, just bitten everywhere by fire ants. That's how bad it was. He couldn't really defend himself against the fire ants the first time. He was in a lot of pain. He suffered. Then it ended up happening a second time. Yes, can you believe that? A second time. It happened a second time, and 2 days later after that, he passed away after all the fire ant bites. Now, they claim in the medical examiner's report, oh, he didn't die from the fire ants, but that definitely was a part of it because this man, had cancer. He didn't die from those complications. He was doing, all right. He even went to the Bahamas with his family. He was waiting on a book to be published of poems that he also written. So he was still looking forward to do a few things before, it was his time to transition with, the ancestors and the Lord. So they decided to sue the federal government for this and the pest control company, which was Orkin, for $20 million. This is utterly ridiculous for this to happen to anybody. But, if we can, we need to try to figure out ways to open up our own care facilities and for people that actually, want to do that job and would pay attention, because they were saying that food was left in the rooms for days, not covered or anything. Food shouldn't be left around nobody for no days. I mean, after you're done with the food, what happened to y'all doing what they were called tray runs? I remember doing a tray run even when I worked at a hotel. Like, you had to go and look each floor and go see if anybody put any trays outside the door. So you mean to tell me somebody couldn't go do a tray run and look in there and see if maybe the patient was done eating? You mean to tell me that didn't happen at all? That is downright despicable for that to happen when ants is getting all over the place. Ants is one of the easiest things to kill. You got bait traps that you can have the ants go through. They got a lot of household killers. Like the one I like using is Ortho Home Defense Max. It doesn't smell. You spray it around the perimeter of your home, in the inside and the outside. You go spray your attic if you got one, your basement if you got one. But spray your home every few months, and you don't have to worry about that because they usually don't cross the perimeter of that spray. I mean, that's what I've always done in my home. And I don't have those pest problems because I have an issue about pests. I say they don't pay the bills here, so they don't deserve to be here. It's just that simple. But for this to happen to this brother, to be bitten in his hands and his arms, his torso, it said the second attack left him in agonizing pain. Because yes, one fire ant bites you, and I've been bitten by them before. One fire ant bites you and you feel it. So imagine 100 or so fire ant bites. Could you imagine that? Those of you who've been bitten by a fire ant? Oh my God. And then on top of that, his brother was suffering with lung cancer. And the VA has been, horrible, on the treatment of veterans. They go fight for this country, then you treat them like any kind of way. You have veterans sleeping underneath the bridge. You have veterans probably freezing to death here in Texas, during the winter storm that they was totally not prepared for, even though they was told it was coming. They treat you any kind of way in this country. You have different layers of treatment in this country. Yes, you definitely have racism, but classism is also very real in this country too. And with this winter storm that just passed, I got to see probably more classism, if anything else. Yeah, you got your racism, but more classism that really got to define itself. And these people don't care about nobody. And that's what amazes me about how some people are in the Mzungu community. They're thinking these politicians care about them. They don't care about you. I don't know why you think they do. But leave me a comment, everything about the situation with this particular story. Like I said, I'm just reporting this to say, please check on your loved ones. Always show your face if you got somebody in those type of facilities. Don't let your loved ones be there and nobody show up, because there's no telling what these people would allow to happen to your family member.